Hey, welcome everybody to Double Dose MMA recap of UFC Fight Night, Adesanya versus Pyfer. What an event we had, and I know that Bad Jim has a lot of thoughts on it.
I tell you, man, that was a sneaky good card, wasn't it? And we all sat around like just trashing on it, going, "Oh, what are they doing to us?" And all of a sudden, it's like finish, 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 finish. And let me tell you, regardless of who picked what, that that for a fight night in Seattle. By the way, welcome to go back. 12 years later, get to go back to Seattle. Watching Pyfer
12 years.
step up from 14 and defeat a 4, taking out a legend, taking out a goat. Man, it doesn't get much better than that. I mean, that's what you wake up for, right? That's what you stay up late for. So if you're complaining about it, you don't know MMA. So you tell me, Junior, what's the first thing that stuck out to you?
Well, that was right it, man. You and I follow everybody that's out there commentating, putting out their predictions. And the first thing that struck me was zero talk about this card. You had to work to find somebody talking about this card, completely overlooked. And so, what do the UFC MMA gods give you? The card that everybody's always looking for. No judges involved. Are you kidding me? So everybody overlooked this, right? But this is exactly the card that everybody likes. Okay, full finishes and everything. I mean, just absolute mayhem in the cage, and you just couldn't ask for a better situation where the delivery just outstrip expectations above all else. I mean,
I
what
almost
can I say
wonder if
about that?
I almost wonder if some of the fans, particularly the ones in the stands that were booing even very little grappling, want pure human sacrifices. They just want to go back to some Mayan temple, start sacrificing people, and go, "Yay, that was fun!" Like I don't understand exactly like you said. It's like you got to see Pyfer's power, Adesanya's style and technique. It's like, and the fact that no one could just extrapolate just from those two early on, before the fight, and go, yeah, it's a good one. Like somehow, right? The the UFC matchmaking brain trust has no idea what they're doing, even though they've been doing it for 20 whatever years and doing it well. I gotta say the first thing that really gets me about this fight, which made me super excited, and I kind of commented on it. Joe Pyfer had started as almost one dimensional. Look, we knew he could wrestle, right? We knew he had skills on the mat, but he should like to flash that red hand. And what dazed Izzy, what got him down, what got him like less Izzy, was this mean left hook. And when he hit him with it more than once, you could tell Izzy went from Izzy goat to, oh, I'm in trouble. And you saw that look on his face. And that was just showing multiple dimensions. And obviously, as Pyfer starts grappling, you're like, uh-oh. In fact, there's one point where he just gets full top. It's so fast. It's like, whoop. It's just like, oh, wait, how did he do that? Even DC's like, wow, that was like such a quick move. It just showed that I think Pyfer has got some multiple levels to him. And Adesanya, not that he had lost a step, but maybe he had a step taken away from him.
Yeah, it's very true what you said, and I was very surprised because I took Adesanya by unanimous decision, which couldn't have been further from either the right person winning or the right way. But if you saw the first round in the beginning, Adesanya was doing so well. I mean, he had Pyfer hurt. I mean, his lead calf was getting bruised, man. I thought if he just stayed mobile and hit him 2 or 3 times more on his left calf, Pyfer was gonna be in some serious trouble.
And you
So you
saw
have to,
I'm sorry, Adesanya also was moving away very smartly. It's like he had great fight
yeah,
IQ, moving away from that right hand. He's like, I
that's
know
right.
that's the trouble move. He's moving and he's damaging the lead leg. So he's like, you're almost like, oh, Adesanya's just going to pick him apart in the first, and then take him out in the second or even the third. We weren't going to go to 5. And all of a sudden, what happened? What did you see that made Adesanya not do that anymore?
You know, I'm not sure, man. I don't know. I don't know if he got a little overconfident from how much success he was having. I think I have to chalk it to that because he was having a lot of success. He was slipping. He was very slick. He was, I mean, he was mixing it up. He was attacking different spots. I mean, it looked clinical. I thought, okay, here we are. Adesanya's back. He looks, like he's like the Adesanya that won a championship. And then all of a sudden, he engages a little bit too much, he extends a little bit too much, and then gets hit by a guy who has a lot of power. And um, obviously, we saw the same thing happen in his last fight. And it was disappointing because I thought that, that he controlled the confrontation, and and I thought he was going to be very successful in basically managing a decision. And to be honest with you, when the first half of the first round, I thought, boy, I got this wrong. Adesanya's gonna take this guy out, and that's how quickly it changed. That's why we watch MMA. That's why That's why the fights are not done on paper.
Do you remember
Insane.
how the first
Perfect.
round ended? And this is where I think, kind of answering this question, Adesanya takes some Pyfer power to his pie hole. And pie hole, for the kids out there, this is the pie hole. It's where the pie goes. Let's not go off a field, right? And you could tell something happened. He ends up where? On his back. Pyfer has full control at the end of round 1. And that was the moment you realize something has happened to Izzy. And then later on, when Pyfer in round 2 gets a body triangle in, did you see Adesanya's face? Gasping. Like he was in excruciating pain, right? He almost let out a Marab cry, right? It was like, something's happened. And I think Piper's power is something we're going to have to talk about in the years to come. And I think, remember, Adesanya's been knocked out fairly recently. I mean, in his last series of go-arounds. When we talk about it, once you take some head trauma, that hitting a Mack truck to the face, it's not like you are young and fresh. It's going to reawaken that trauma. Your brain takes years to heal, if at all. Adesanya might be going, he may have just forgotten everything. He looked like, when we got to round 2, it's like, that's not Izzy. That's some other person walking around in Izzy's skin pretending to do MMA. And no insult to the greatness that is Israel Adesanya at all. Like, he is brilliant. He will go down as a Hall of Famer immediately. It's just, even Joe mentioned it, but I think it's just something happened right before he hits the ground. As soon as they're on the ground in round 1, you come back, it's over. And you just saw Izzy was in excruciating pain in that as the grappling happened in round 2. And as you see in the image, Izzy was done. He just laid down and was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't fun.
Yeah, well, he couldn't get out of that. I mean, he was completely flattened out, and he seemed gassed also, which is kind of rare for him. So anyway, again, terrific fight because it had a lot of drama in it. Okay, you had a previous champion trying to reclaim his standing, and you had an up and comer who, shows a lot of promise. So you can't ask for much more than that. So with that said, let's move over to the ladies. Grasso versus Barber.
Grasso versus Barber. Gosh, we actually got a finish out of a women's MMA fight on the main card. I mean,
terrific.
I didn't see, no one. AI, you, me, no one saw that coming. We're like, by the way, guess who else didn't see it coming? Barber. God, that was bad. I thought it was going to be 4 fights and a funeral, but or I guess 5 fights and a funeral. But damn, not to laugh about it. And I know she's okay now, but damn, what's the first thing went through your head when you saw that?
Well, look, I told you I'm a big Grasso fan, and the reason that I appreciate her fighting so much is because of how tight and technical she is in boxing. I mean, she's so good in boxing that people forget how good she is also in jujitsu. And in a matter of maybe 2 seconds, everybody was reminded because that slip and straight left that sent Barber into like the nether realm, and then immediately followed by a right hook that in between 1 second she hit her with a right hook and got her in a rear naked choke. Insane. The speed of that was phenomenal. So she knocked her out and she choked her out in the same move within 2 seconds.
Yeah, you hit a
Crazy.
big note. I was reading about it afterwards, and they were really emphasizing that after the hook, she was out. She was like eyes wide shut, right? She was outer darkness with her eyes open, like some terrifying movie where somebody's awake with their eyes open, like whatever. And 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 then the choke happens. It also kind of mentions like this. There were some refereeing moments throughout this whole evening, even in the prelims. But yeah, it just shows there's power. Power. You were talking about it before the show, right? Well, I believe if you picked it back up about this issue of power in women's MMA, and then all of a sudden you find it, and it's like, oh golly gee willikers.
It was so fast that it's the first time ever watching MMA that I've seen a ref pull somebody off of a choke, right? Because he pulled her off of a choke, and yet the official finish was a knockout. Think about that.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Great
I,
performance.
I
Absolutely fantastic performance. She's back. She said she was, you know what? She said she had been injured. Now I fully believe it because this is just a great way to come back into a division that, man, she sorely needs more competition. So, I think fight fans who like women's MMA are gonna be, cheering for this one, which yeah, which brings us to, the next fight of the night. Um, Local boy Chiesa versus Journeyman Price. Tell me what you thought about this fight, Big Jim.
Price. Look, it was a setup fight, right? They wanted to make sure um, that Chiesa was able to fight at home, right, and the return. They gave him somebody who probably shouldn't quit their day. I assume Price has a day
Well,
job.
remember he took it on short notice because the guy got injured, right?
I think
I
he didn't have much to do in his car
I
detailing
know,
job
man.
that week. I mean, it's like,
I gotta give him credit, man. I gotta give him credit. But please, sorry, I didn't want me to interrupt you.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you give anyone credit who steps in the octagon ever in any
Yeah.
level because you non-zero chance you're getting hurt bad. It was okay. I mean, I didn't call it right, but I'm not gonna. I just how I felt about people coming back after time. But it was nice to see that he was definitely fit. He definitely has moves, still has it. It was nice to see it on display. And you know what? Not every fight is about who's going up to the championship. Sometimes it's a storyline, right? Sometimes we're just keeping the UFC story alive. Sometimes we're just, it's okay. But like I heard a lot of the other commentators, or sorry, the other people who are creators. Oh, why is this on the main card? Should be in the prelims. Or here, why is Tybura, who's ranked on the prelim? Who cares? Today's world, nobody, very few people have watched the whole thing all the way through. You go to Paramount, you watch a fight. You go to YouTube, you do this. I could watch Tybura before I watch Adesanya if I wanted to. Like, stop. This is a storyline. It's a good storyline. They did some good shots. They did some good stuff around Seattle. It highlights a good city to go to. It highlights how awesome of a crowd Seattle was. Seattle blew the doors off of a lot of other American cities. That place was more than half full during the prelims. Early, like women opening up the prelims, half full, cheering, yelling. Even to one point, one fighter who was from Seattle but happened to be Canadian was being booed. He said, "Hey guys, I grew up here," and they're, "Oh, okay, we love you." That's what this is with Chiesa. This is a story of Seattle and a Seattle-born player or fighter. For that, I give it a thumbs up. I give it, thank goodness he won. It would have sucked if he lost.
Yeah, man, I can't believe you didn't pull for the local boy, but that's a conversation for a different time. The thing is that fantastic crowd, and for a 38-year-old, I tip my hat. He was super ready.
Yeah.
He's a classy guy, so he gave a lot of credit to Nico Price about him being dangerous and everything. But look, man, you run that fight 20 times and Chiesa wins 19. I mean, honestly, dude, maybe 20. Uh, it Terrible matchup for Price and a super, super, super focused Chiesa who knew this is, I mean, he was again doing it for his dad. We remember that during the, Ultimate Fighting Championship, his dad died before, the final fight. Um, I mean, anybody could have like basically not, most people would have bowed out. Most people would have like basically said, look, man, we don't hold you accountable, you should. But instead he took that, his dad told him, look, go through with your dream. Don't let this stand in your way. He won the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I mean, he finished his career with a win at home. Just fairy tale ending, man, to a guy who has 9 submissions in the division. He is in the top 5 submissions all time in the division. So, not everybody gets to be champion, but everybody can be incredibly entertaining and just a badass. And that's who Chiesa is. So my hat's off to him.
You said an important word that we forget about. Everyone's so worried about one thing or another. The word's entertaining. This is entertainment, okay?
Yes.
Like anyone who isn't in the octagon is just a fan, doesn't know anything more at all than any other fan, unless you fought, are fighting, are a coach, own a gym, or work for the UFC. You don't know squat. Lay back and enjoy the show because it was a good show. It was the way they put it together was wonderful. It was well done. By the way, top notches to the productions team at UFC and Paramount. They did an excellent job. Quick side note: if you didn't notice, at the final fight, I should have said this before, they went commercial free for a bit. And that's a quick note to know. Paramount's listening to the fans about when to show commercials and not. Paramount's upping the game. Watch this. You're going to see a lot more local content. You just did with the Pikes Market. Like, Paramount's going to do more to emphasize the locales. And I felt like, particularly with the Chiesa side, it was a lot of Seattle. It's like what we want to see, right? It's entertainment. It was entertaining. It wasn't entertaining for Nico Price. Look, brother, one thing for Nico, free bit of advice. I give you an A for doing what you did. I mean, you weren't going to win. I picked you just because of my own little pettiness about I don't want to see old guys come back and fight. But that's got nothing to do with the fact you stood in there. But let's just say, brother, I hope they paid you more than the minimum wage because, right, that should tide you over. I don't think you're getting another fight. I think that's pretty much the end of Nico Price because
Oh no. He took it on short notice. No. That's I think that's where I disagree with you. You're not understanding the fact that the UFC really appreciates when somebody steps off their couch from drinking. Look at Nico Price. What do you think he was doing over the last week? You think he was really training and getting ready for things? Dude, he was probably like barbecuing with his kids, throwing down some beers or whatever. They put in the call, hey, listen, this guy got hurt. Are you gonna fight? He said, no problem. Jumped on a plane, came over here, and gave it his best. And the UFC does reward that. So this is a freebie. This was a
So
freebie from Nico.
wait, I gotta watch another one of these fights because I really don't want to.
No. The thing is this: the disaster would have been if
Yeah, he had no cam.
they if Chiesa would have had to like bow out of like this his hometown farewell where they already had the video with his career and this whole thing. Nico Price saved that, and the UFC is 100% writing this off as no worries, my bro, we understand. It's like it never happened. And that's the way it has to be, man, because you know what, so many fighters get given an opportunity and they're like, oh no, I don't want to fight that guy. That's ridiculous. So phenomenal night for Chiesa and the UFC. Thank you so much, Nico Price, for showing up. Love it. And we just, as fans, we want to see more of that. We want to see it. So now we're gonna move on to Erosa Douglas, where, my goodness, Douglas made me eat crow. Douglas, you made me look foolish, man.
How was the crow?
You made me look foolish, okay? I should have jumped in with both feet, and more than that, I should have bought other people's feet so that we can have more feet jumping on to the bandwagon, because this kid has power, dude. I mean, we have a legit up-and-comer in the division. What do you think, Bad Jim?
I think we need more human sacrifices so we can get that feat you need. And by the way, talk about guess who's doing it? Freaking Douglas. Look, I hear this all the time. You got this group who thinks that the Contender Series is the only place for talent. And you got the other group who's like, oh, I'm done listening to the Contender Series. Hey, man, it's like anything else. It's about consistency. It's not about perfection. Consistently, the Contender Series is cranking out some really good talent. And if you remember, this guy, Douglas, is a little bit older. What is he, 35, 36, something like that. And I don't know if Dana said it about this guy, but on average, he says, there's a certain point that I don't need any more old players, I mean the young guys. This guy, if you watch this Contender Series, go do it now if you haven't seen it. He switches off his opponent in such a horrific way. It makes Barber getting switched off look like okay time. Like, this was sick. And so, let me tell you, I said it in my pick. Erosa was not prepared. Wasn't prepared for the calf kicks or the leg kicks or any of the kicks. Wasn't prepared for the speed. Wasn't prepared to be pressured. Wasn't prepared for this old man to out-cardio him. This guy broke every one of the rules and won, but he did it in a way that was, or expectations or assumptions or stereotypes. If you don't know, now you know. And this guy is technical with power. How far does he go? Look, we'd have to see something other than Erosa. This is almost as much, though, about Erosa not being prepared. I'm sorry, man. He did not look prepared at all. He comes from Extreme Couture. There's been a lot of conversations about, do B and C tier fighters, right, actually get time at these gyms, right? We see about gym defections all the time, frequently. Is he just the punching bag at Extreme Couture? Because I got to tell you, he didn't look like he got hands-on every minute training. What do you think?
I'm gonna disagree with you slightly. I don't think it was a preparation thing. I think it's just, look, people have ceilings. Okay, there's no matter. Okay, if I trained every minute of every day since the day I was born, I would never be able to defeat Michael Jordan in basketball. That doesn't speak to my lack of preparation. It gets to a level where you have to have a certain build and a certain amount of raw material, and then you use your time to mold it into that. And Erosa, he didn't look bad in the way that he was approaching, but dude, Douglas was at the very least better than him technically and with a lot more power. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Have you ever seen a fight where a guy goes down 3 or 4 times, like from a jab? I mean, you have to kind of expect that you're going to get hit with a jab. Okay. You cannot expect that that jab is going to be like a right cross. And so I don't I don't think it's a knock on Erosa. I think it's a very, very big thumbs up on Douglas and his ability. And he's only 30 years old, man. He's right at his prime. So he's basically got maybe 3 or 4 years of prime here. So if he can really get things going, it makes it so much more interesting because somebody with that power at 145, man, can really climb the ranks really fast. So I'm excited to see what's gonna come, of his future after this
I,
one.
I would just note, I like the fact that this is a blended point. You're right. I think it's a little bit of both because this guy, yeah, like Erosa, he's had a lot of fights and maybe he sniffed the top 15 once. And this is practically, I think you said it in the preview video, the journeyman versus the rookie card, right? That's really what this was. It's
Yeah,
also, I've been trying to say this since the start of the Paramount era. It feels like we are trimming off dead weight, right? They're
yeah,
pretty happy to fast promote people from other promotions, bringing more Asian fighters, uh, and also just speed up. I wouldn't be surprised if the Contender Series is expanded by 3 or 4 more episodes. I would be
good
surprised if we
point.
saw something like that because it's been effective. And now, listen to this. It's happened in the last year. More and more fighters are asking for their friends on the mat as they win.
Yep,
And you see other gyms growing, right? Valley's growing up in Chicago. You're seeing not the little shooter box, but like the new gyms in Brazil are growing. Like it's like folks building a whole new gym. I mean, right? Like I think we're about to see a golden era of fresh talent. I won't say young, just fresh talent, and that's going to be great for everyone. It just means the journeymen, the guys who've just been kind of treading water here and there. I don't know if we see him again. I don't know if we rebook Erosa. I mean, no offense to him. It's just if I have another up and comer, I'd rather see him and Douglas fight than Douglas and another journeyman. But I don't know, that's just me. No offense to
you do.
Erosa. It's got to be hard to do this, but I don't want to see it again.
Okay, this brings us to a terrific fight that we just saw
Oh, that
between
was awesome.
Abdul-Malik and Belgaroui. Sorry, Belgaroui. I can't even say his name,
No,
man.
you just said it.
Look, I'll give it up. I'll give it up. Bad Jim,
Oh man, I got to
what
give
did
you.
you think of this fight?
I think. Wait, I got to give you a ration of of crud because I was careful we want to be monetized one day. Uh, Listen, remember you asked me like, dude, did you prepare? Did you actually? I was like, this guy in the Contender Series. If you watched it, you'd be like, what's he doing here? Abdul-Malik is going to get him. But if you really study him, who's in his corner? Do you remember who's in his corner?
Well, yeah, but who did you pick?
It's on the screen. Belgaroui,
Get out of here.
because He's training with Glover. Poetan is in his corner. And who does this guy fight? Exactly like Poetan. It's just, look, it takes time. Look, I got to tell you, man. Guy shows up from Dutch land, with windmills and tulips and bicycles. And he's in Connecticut. It's probably can't, he's at, what the hell's a Connecticut? And he's sitting with possibly one of the greatest Brazilian fights. Sorry, all the Bronx fans, but I mean, Poetan is Poetan. And Glover, and you're trying to become great. It takes a while for all that to sink in and become effective beyond just your normal base training. That guy, his clinch work made me afraid. Like, I watched his clinch work. I'm like, yeah, this is over. Like, the minute I saw it, I was like, he's mastered the clinch. And Malik had no answer to it. And Malik is a very good fighter. This guy, Abdul-Malik, is for real. Yeah. This was a great fight because they were both super talented. But Belgaroui, I want to say this, just one thing. This is super important. I mentioned it a little bit before. I've talked about this 100 times. I'm going to say it for the 101st time. There's a difference between capability, talent, and experience. And the basic premise, I don't want to talk about fight IQ. Can you make great decisions real fast or in real time under pressure or stress? If that, which means can you, in the course of battle, remember to use your tools effectively? And guess who did that the best? Belgaroui. Abdul-Malik, as soon as he got pressure and stress, as soon as he was being walked down, kind of like say, oh, where am I? Is it Tuesday? Should I get the bread at the store? Belgaroui is like, he stayed in that mental state where nothing fazed him. And every time something happened, he immediately had an answer.
Here's a situation where I gave Abdul-Malik the benefit of the doubt because I thought he was, well, the better wrestler for sure, and faster twitch muscles on his feet. And what surprised everybody, including most pundits, was that Belgaroui, the amount of growth that he showed from the Contender Series to this fight surprised everyone, including Belgaroui. This is not the same guy that was there, man. Like, it's almost like he had pieces going in a certain direction, in the right direction during the Contender Series. But then when he left that, remember, he didn't even get a contract. Okay, it's very important. I mean, you're giving him a lot of credit, but he didn't even get a contract. That means he did not, he didn't, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, not surprised, but he didn't
stand out.
Show.
Yeah,
he didn't show them that he deserved a right of contract. He left that show like, okay, well, thank you for being here. And he goes back to Connecticut and he takes all those little things that were going in the right direction. And man, he just melded them into a scary beast because Malik was still faster than he was. You can't manufacture speed. Okay, you can't manufacture wrestling in that short time frame. What this guy did was he showed what technique used with a crazy height and reach will do. And my goodness, man. The interesting thing is you mentioned Poetan. And you see Poetan is actually sort of the exception to the rule. Like, if we go back for the last 50 years, who are the only people that have been giving Thai kickboxers, Thai boxing, any competition? The Dutch. It was actually more of a surprise that they're not more represented in MMA because all they have to do is learn what Poetan did. Poatan said, listen, I'm not going to become a wrestler. I am going to learn takedown defense. I'm going to keep it on the feet where I'm going to knock you out. And that's what all the Dutch fighters sort of should have been doing. And I don't even know why maybe they just don't really like MMA in and of itself. Maybe they're very pure or whatever. But my goodness, I mean, this guy said, no. You know what? I just saw what works. I just saw what Poatan did. And guess what? I'm a Dutch fighter. And I can control distance. I do great clinch. I do great knees. Look, Poatan, great knees, great elbows, great footwork, great clinch, great everything, right?
His knees in the clinch were his knees in the clinch.
Dude, destroyed him.
Yeah,
destroyed him.
It was.
So
I would say, I'll go back and hit this point again. You bring up Poatan. What does Poatan do? Remember, loses to Big Yang. And this is back to this like thing that fighters, I'm sure they're training this into his brain. He had the same tools he had in that fight as he did in his, captain average on the bus mediocre on the way to Plainville to drink some non-flavored yogurt, right? Like, and all of a sudden, because knowing when and how to use the tools under the right circumstances, he's had all those tools. He's had that physique. He's had that training. It's using the tools, meaning the correct form of training so that it becomes activated in the ring or in the octagon. Remember what Poatan did when he regained his title from Ang? They had just made the 12-6 elbow legal, just about. And he used it on body blows on the ground. Got ankle live down and just midsection 12-6. But imagine this, for a fighter to say, oh, hey, major rules change, I'm going to incorporate that into my game. That's a lot of mental awareness in the heat of battle, right? Because ankle live is still very dangerous. That type of mental awareness, I'm sure they're teaching him, because you watch it, he threw an elbow. And it's just like, my God, you knew exactly when to do it, how to do it. That clinch with the knee, you're like, how many fighters miss that? How many fighters you're screaming to throw the knee? And he's like, I have this incredible frame. I'm going to get all this extra force on my knee. Night, Abdul-Malik. And this is, I think they're just pumping his brain more than anything else. And I think that's what, this is the Poatan effect. No offense to Glover. Right? Yeah, Glover, I know you're amazing. This is the Poatan effect. That's why he steps in the ring. Did you hear what happened when he got in the ring? And obviously, Belgaroui is greeting him and telling him, the entire crowd loses their ever-loving mind. Yeah. And everyone's going, Chama. There's a lot to the psychology of this.
Yeah, but I'm an old school fan, man. And there would be no Chama without Glover Teixeira teaching these guys how to not get taken down or getting up when they do. Because if that doesn't happen, then these guys would be an easy out by anybody. The fact is, Abdul-Malik tried his heart out to get this guy down, and he couldn't. And I'm going to do two things. I'm going to close out this fight with this. One, big props to Abdul-Malik, because the guy never quit. He went out on his shield. He gave it all. He took an insane amount of punishment, more punishment than most people could ever take. I mean, I'll leave it at that. Just go watch the fight if you haven't, or rewatch it. And it's crazy that this guy wasn't taken out earlier. And number two, I'm really hoping that Usry has kind of opened the door again to more of his countrymen coming into MMA, because we need more of that. I mean, wouldn't you like to see a legion of Usry's Belgaroui, whatever his last name is? Wouldn't you love to watch him? I mean, how exciting are these fighters, right?
Yeah, you know my story when I went to that tech conference in Portugal and happened to meet a Dutch MMA fan, and all I heard was a list of other names of folks that should be coming to the UFC, and I was like, it's like this undiscovered country where we walk up, we're like it's like our cousins, right? Our like family members we didn't know we had. We're like, please, join. Well, wait, except don't send any more RDRs. You just keep that shit there. Just that group can just go quit somewhere and do whatever they do. Like I don't need another RDR. I need a Belgaroui. I don't need an RDR.
Good
But
deal.
I
Well,
want to say
well,
one thing
well.
because we'll save it for another video. But back to the idea that using your tools, everyone should go out and watch the Bahamunda's featured prelim fight about someone who didn't use their tools and took more punishment than we had seen ever. I can't remember the last time I saw that much blood ever. Okay. We'll have a separate video about it. That's a massive rant I have. So we're just going to park it. So where are we going next?
Finally, we got McKinney Nelson. And look, we both picked the same guy. So this one was no surprise. I just got surprised that it happened so fast. I thought that at least Nelson was going to last, one round. So I simply underestimated McKinney's overall power. That's all I'm going to say with that. Terrific fight. My hat's off to McKinney, and another great prospect.
Yeah, the problem with McKinney is his brain, right? Yeah, he got Nelson out, and I love McKinney, but yeah, he's all gas, no brakes. That sounds fun, but it's not as fun as we think, right? He got him out, but some of that's just because Nelson's, not awesome. What did you think?
Well, I just think that what happened was what needed to happen when you have somebody that has the tools against somebody that doesn't. If they don't put them away, then that's on them. McKinney made short work of a guy that was in front of him that demanded to be short work. So it happened exactly as planned. In fact, like I said, I didn't give him enough credit. McKinney, you proved me wrong. You have crazy power, and he goes for the kill. I can't wait to see his next fight.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen a lot of McKinney, right? He has a lot of losses because he can't get out of the first round. We're going to see him win whenever he gets an opponent who falls for his rather one-dimensional game, and he's got a great story. So there's that entertainment factor. I just, I bet you the next time we see him, he gets knocked out or gasses out in the second round. So let's just move on. We got our leaderboard coming up. So here are the results. We promise everyone to keep track of it. Very interesting when we get into the numbers real quick. We got, I pulled ahead a little bit just because it had a good winner side. But Junior really nailed the methods. You'll see that in a minute. And for those of you out there, you understand when it comes to picking, the reason we're picking these the way that we are, those would be like similar to if you're betting straight bets, not parlays, on very specific parts of a fight. So it's very hard, right? If you guys understand, pro gamblers tend to only over time, the best ones do 56 to 60%. And 60% is the greatest pro gamblers of all time. So 56% over enough data is where great prognosticators or odds makers end up. So we're doing well now, but it's not that much data. We'll just move to the next one. Picking straight winners, we pulled even, right? I got lucky with a lot of good winners this week. And, there was only the women's MMA that was a stinker for me because I didn't listen to Junior pick Grasso. AI, we have to note this. AI did a lot better overall. You'll see this in a minute. AI is pulling up with everything, so we got to watch out.
Got to stay on our toes.
The methods, I had a really good week in the past, but AI really nailed almost every method this week. It was really weird. It knew how fights would end. Didn't always get by the way, and none of us did well in the rounds. All of us only ever got one round right. So we were good. Some of us were pretty good with the winners and the methods. It was just what round it would. And if you look at the statistically from a picking standpoint, that's always the hardest thing to do, right? Yeah. We've done a lot of other work, a lot of other analysis. It's like, sure, method is generally you can get the winner. You can get figuring out the exact round like when the thing happens, when it could be the 4th minute 30th second versus the first 30 seconds of the next round, we don't know. But the good news is, look, we're still very competitive. We're all moving forward, and it's neck and neck. I mean, these numbers could change. One more week, we get even closer. But I'm really proud of our percentages. What do you think, Junior?
Yeah. So you know what? It's gonna be on us to stay, ahead of AI. Just thinking about it, looking a lot of tape, uh, a lot of taking up on a lot of our knowledge that we have, and just trying to take care of like the intangibles. So it's fun. That's why we have a lot of fun. So we give you a lot of thanks for like joining us on this journey, and we hope to see a lot more fights and cards like we did this weekend, where you know the what happens in the cage far exceeds expectations.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks everybody.